This video is going to talk about more mixed numbers and improper fractions. On the screen there, we have a picture of one whole, which you can see has been cut into two pieces. So that one whole, it takes two slices of pizza to make that whole, and we currently have two slices. That number is known as what I call a fractional 1. And that is because this is the fractional version of 1. There are many, many fractional versions of 1. 4 over 4 is a fractional version of 1 because it takes 4 slices to fill this pizza, and we have 4 slices shaded. 8 out of 8 is also a fractional 1. 8 slices of pizza, 8 are shaded. We could keep going on. 3 over 3, 1,000 over 1,000, 15 over 15. All of these are the same thing as the number 1 because they all mean one whole. So if we have this, if we have 3 holes here, these are not holes in the ground, these are entireties. If we have 3 holes here, how many halves do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 halves, which means that 3 can also be represented as 6 over 2. This is also important to note that the fraction bar is the same thing as a division line. So if I write a fraction bar or a division line bar, the bottom number is the same thing as that bottom dot. The denominator is like the bottom dot. The top dot would be the same as the numerator. So if we take 6 divided by 2, 6 divided by 2 is 3, which is the same thing as what we see in the picture. So they want you to write each whole number as an improper fraction with denominator 2. Draw a picture, write a multiplication problem to show your answer. I'm going to do the first one, then I'm going to let you pause and do the rest on your own. So if I have 4 holes, I have to think if I have 4 pizzas and I cut them each into 2 pieces, because remember our denominator is 2, so it takes 2 pieces to make a whole. 4 pizzas cut into 2 pieces is going to be 8 slices of pizza, 8 halves. Let's go ahead and check with that picture. 4 cut into 2s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's going to be 8. Or 4 times 2 equals 8. You go ahead and try the rest on your own, and when you come back, we'll talk about it. Welcome back. So if I take 7 whole pizzas and I cut them into halves, 7 pizzas each sliced into half, which means that now, because they're cut into halves, 2 is my denominator, and I'm going to have 14 halves, or 14 seconds of a pizza. 2 is going to be, well, if I'm cutting it into 2 pieces, 2 times the number 2, that's going to be 4, because 2 pizzas times the 2 that you cut into will be 4. This last one, cut them into 2s, so it takes 2 to make a whole, so that's my denominator. 2 holes each of 10 pizzas, so I have 10 pizzas, they each have 2 holes each. 10 times 2 is 20. So we have this pie here. They've moved from pizzas to pies. You think about whatever makes your heart happy. How many parts are in this pie? Well, in this pie, there are 4 parts. You can see the 4 parts. How many quarters, which is the same thing as saying a fourth, are in 2 pies? So in 2 pies, 2 entire pies, 2 times 4 is going to be 8. Then we have this little piece of nonsense over here that has an extra just 3 slices. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to add in those extra slices. 2 times 4 is 8, and then add in that 3. 8 plus 3 is 11. So that is going to be 11, whoops, excuse me, I'm so stuck on the last page. ignore that. So that's going to be 11/4 of a pizza, because in this pizza it takes 4 pieces to make a whole, and then you're going to count, let's count the number of slices just to double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Look, 11/4 or 11/4 of a pizza, or a pie, or a giant cookie, or whatever it is that you want to imagine this as. I'm trying to think of something healthy that's in that shape. I'm stuck on pizza. So if I ask you how many halves are in 2 1/2, well, remember that we want to know halves. 2 halves of 2 wholes, so 2 times 2, that's going to be 4, so we multiply and we get 4, plus 1, that should be a plus sign, is going to be 5. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. We have this 5 1/2, 2 times 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11. We're still talking about halves. 5 1/2 pizzas cut into halves is going to be 11 halves. If I have 11 pizzas, how many halves is that? Well, let's see, 11 pizzas, each split in half. 11 times 2 is going to be 22/2. And then we have 11 1/2. So we did 2 times 11, and we got 22, and then we're going to add that extra 1, because now we have 11 1/2 pizzas. So 22 plus 1 is 23/2. You may have noticed that everything that we're working with so far is an improper fraction. You are absolutely correct, because we are working in numbers that are whole numbers, or mixed numbers, which means that everything we're working with is greater than 1. So all of these fractions that we're working with is greater than 1. Most times you want to change an improper fraction, or a fraction with a bigger number on the top. I like to call them top heavy. Most times you want to change those into a mixed number. However, when the question asks for an answer like this, you do it. Oh my goodness, we have a bonus here. How many halves are in 1,000 pizzas? And how many halves are in 1,000? How many thirds are in 1,002 thirds? I'm going to let you go ahead and think about this on your own. When you come back, we'll talk about it. Did you try it yet? Welcome back. So, 1,000 cut into halves. 1,000 pizzas each cut in half, so making 2 instead of 1 is going to be 2,000. When we look at 1,002 thirds, if we want to know how many thirds that is, now we're going to be multiplying by 3. 3 times 1,000 is 3,000. Add in that 2, and we get 3,002 thirds. Oh boy, now we're working with thirds. This is the same thing that we did, except now it's the number 3 instead of the number 2 in that denominator. You go ahead and try this on your own. We'll talk about it when you come back. Welcome back. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. So, 2 1/3, figuring out how many thirds we have total. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So that makes 7 thirds. You can see that my denominator stayed the same. Let's do the same thing with 5 1/3. Excuse me. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 1 is going to be 16 thirds. 11 cut into thirds. 11 pizzas cut into threes are going to be 33. And then we have 11 1/3. And we multiply 11 times 3, we just got 33. We add the 1, and we get 34/33. Bonuses, you can go ahead and try those on your own. Let's go ahead and write these mixed numbers as improper fractions. Same thing. Go ahead and talk about that. Go ahead and try it on your own, and when you come back, we'll talk about it. Welcome back. So let's go ahead and let's use that same strategy we've been using. 3 times 7 is 21, plus 1 is going to be 22. So 3 1/7 is the same thing as saying 22 over 7. 5 1/6, 6 times 5 is 30, plus 1 is 31 over 6. Go ahead and try these, and we'll talk about it. Welcome back. 4 3/9, 9 times 4 is going to be 36, plus 3 is going to be 39 over 9. Yes, those are 3s. They are the best 3s ever. They're really not. 8 times 7. Ooh, 8 times 7 is always difficult to remember. So what I like to do is I like to think I know 7 times 7. 7 times 7 is 49. And then if I add another 7 to that, that's going to be 56. So 8 times 7 is 56. Plus 5 is going to be 61 over 8. And then down here, 6 5/5. 6 times 6 is 36. Plus 5 is going to be 41 over 6. Notice how the denominator stayed the same every time because we're cutting it into the same size pieces. The question that we have in the first part, it's telling us how many wholes and how many parts of a whole we have left. The next part is telling us just how many slices we have left. Just purely slices and how big each slice is. So a box holds 4 cans. How many cans will 1 1/4 boxes hold? So we can tell the box is split into fourths. So let's go ahead and convert that. 1 box of 4 would be 4, plus that extra 1 that's left over would be 5. So the box will hold, the 1 1/4 boxes will hold 5 cans. Not 5/4 of a can, because they want to know how many cans will it hold. So it will hold 5 cans. The fourth tells us how many each box will hold. 2 3/4 of a box. 2 times 4 is 8. Plus 3 is 11. So this one will hold 11 cans. And no can'ts. Go ahead and try this, and when you come back, we'll talk about it. Welcome back. A box holds 6 cans. How many cans will 1 5/6 boxes hold? 1 times 6 is 6, plus 5 is going to be 11 cans. And then we have tennis balls come in cans of 3. How many balls will 7 1/3 cans hold? 3 times 7 is 21, plus 1 is 22 tennis balls. You can go ahead and try that bonus if you so choose. So Cindy needs 3 2/3 cups of flour. She has 2 measuring cups. Cup A holds 1/3 and cup B holds 1/6. So if she needs cup A, if she uses cup A, which holds 1/3, how many scoops would she need? Well, she needs 3 2/3, and each cup holds 1/3 of a cup. So I'm going to figure out how many thirds will 3 2/3 hold. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 is 11. So it will hold 11 scoops. Cup B, instead of holding 1/3, it holds 1/6. So instead of cutting something into thirds, those are beautiful thirds, you're welcome, we're going to cut it into 1/6, which means it's going to double the amount. So I'm going to take those 11 scoops and double it. Cup B will hold 22 scoops. How can I find the number of whole pies this fraction represents? What do I do here? This is where I was talking about how the division sign is basically a fraction, and you're going to go ahead and divide down. So 10 divided by 2, that's really what this is saying. 10 split into 2s. 10, not 16. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So 10 halves is the same as saying 5. Go ahead and give these improper fractions a shot, and we'll talk about it when you come back. Welcome back. 18 over 2 is the same thing as 18 divided by 2, and 18 divided by 2 is 9, so there are 9 holes in letter A. Letter B says 14 over 2, or 14 divided by 2. That answer is 7. Letter C says 18 divided by 3, which says 18 divided by 3. 18 divided by 3 is 6. And then we have 12 divided by 3. Divided by 3, which is 4. And if you tackled the bonus, 72 divided by 8 is 9. 7.5. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. This one gets more difficult because I can't think of, if I do 7 divided by 2, there's no easy number for that. So what I'm going to do is this thing that I call making the L. And I don't know which way is backwards for you. So if you hold up your hands in front of you like I'm doing and you look at your hands, you're going to see one that makes an L. We are going to take the letter L and we are going to put it into this fraction. This is going to be the fraction bar. So you can see the fraction bar and the letter L in that. Do you see how if you tilt your head, this starts to look like a division sign? That means when we have this division sign, the number on the inside of the L goes on the inside of the division sign. The number that's on the outside goes on the outside. So let's go ahead and take a look. How many times does 2 go into 7? 2 goes into 7, 2, 4, 6, 8 is too much. So we're going to go with 6, which is times 3. 2 times 3 is 6. 7 minus 6 is 1. I don't have anything else there, and we're looking for a fraction answer. So I'm going to take this one that's all the way at the bottom, move it all the way up to the top, so high up that it's in the numerator. The bottom number is going to be the same that it's been the whole time. That's going to be 2. So my answer is 3.5. Let's go ahead and check this. 1, 2, 3.5. See that R for remainder? You're too old for remainders anymore. We're just going to make fraction answers for right now. We can deal with the decimals later. So go ahead and give this a shot. When you come back, we'll talk about it. Welcome back. So for each improper fraction, use division to write the remainder. 14 divided by 3. I'm going to go ahead and make the L here, not take it, make it. 14 goes on the inside, 3 goes on the outside. 3 goes into 14 4 times. 3 times 4 is 12. That leaves 2 left over. So my answer is 4 2/3. Letter B, 11 divided by 8. Go ahead and make that L again, which means 11 is on the inside and 8 is on the outside. 8 can only go into 11 one time. 8 times 1 is 8. 11 minus 8 is 3. Take that 3 all the way from the bottom, move it all the way to the top, and we have 3/8. 11 divided by 4. Gosh, which number goes on the inside? Let's make the L. 11 goes on the inside, 4 goes on the outside. 4 goes into 11 2 times, which leaves us with 8. 11 minus 8 is 3. So we have 2 3/4. Last one, 10 divided by 3. 10 goes on the inside, 3 goes on the outside. 3 goes into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. 10 minus 9 is 1. That leaves us with 3 1/3. 7/2 of a pie is the same as 3 whole pies and another half pie. Is that the same as 2 whole pies and 3 halves? Let's think about this. 7½ pies is the same as 3 whole pies and another 1/2. Is that the same as saying 2 whole pies and 3 halves? So we have 3 wholes and 2 wholes. Here we have 3 whole pies and 1/2 a pie. Here we have 2 whole pies and 3 halves. Well, 3 halves isn't a proper fraction. What would 3 halves be? I'm going to make the L. 3 over 2. 2 goes into 3 one time. That leaves 1, so that'd be 2 and 1/2. Oh my goodness. That means that 3 halves would be the same as 1 and 1/2. But not just that. Don't forget the 2. So that would be 2 plus 1½ So 2 wholes plus another whole and a half would be 3 wholes total and a half, which turns out to be the same thing. I'm going to let you look through these while I tell you that that's out of order. While I tell you that I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in class soon. Bye.